Scene. Hi guys,
Hi.
welcome back. Tips to Your Boyfriend episode. I don't think we're in the double digits yet, but soon.
8, I want to say 7 or 8.
7 or 8.
It's Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day to you and your significant other. Hopefully you guys had like a nice Valentine's Day dinner, or maybe eating it right now because it's 6:30.
We were on the early side.
Yeah.
He made me dinner tonight. I was very spoiled. It was delicious. It was scallops and then green apple salad with microgreens.
Yep, pan-seared scallops and a microgreen granny apple salad
Yeah.
with a lemon olive oil dressing.
It was a new dish and it was so yummy.
Yeah, it was pretty good actually. I liked how it turned out.
Yeah.
I had to the recipe called for mash, which is some sort of other type of green, which goes by like many different types of names, but I don't actually know the names, and I couldn't find it, so I had to replace it with microgreens. And then for the scallops also, it called for like those large like dollar coin scallops. You know what I mean? Like you can put in your hand and you can feel the heft. But couldn't. They were out, so I had to get the smaller ones in the frozen aisle. But it turned out good. Pan-seared scallops are delicious, so definitely try those out.
Yeah, I was very spoiled.
Yeah. Happy Valentine's Day. Anyways. What else did we do? I made some coconut milk for the first time. That turned out okay.
It tastes really rich. It's super creamy, really nice, fresh. It was funny because he had never actually had coconut milk before, just like straight coconut milk. And so he tried to compare it to the Whole Foods brand that we have in the fridge. And he was like, what is this? Because it's just nothing compares to having something just so fresh.
Yeah, you can't really compare store-bought preservative type oat milk or almond milk or coconut milk compared to like when you just make it at home with a blender and a nut bag. So it's like, it's apples to oranges, so it's not really fair to Whole Foods. Because like you can just make something like really quick, really fresh that will not sit on the shelf for more than 3 days and drink it and eat it. And it'll taste so much better than what you get in the store. But like you have to understand when you get that store-bought stuff, it is meant to last. And so like you get it, you buy a carton, you put the carton in your fridge, and you can just drink coconut milk for 2 weeks straight. Versus what I made today, it'll be gone in like 3 days.
All good?
All good. But it was good. Try it out too.
Yeah.
What was the recipe? I did 2 cups of shredded coconut milk. Sorry. I did 2 cups of shredded coconuts, 4 cups of water. I put in 4 dates and a pinch of salt. Blend it for a minute or whatever your setting is for on your blender. I know that the blender we use has like an extract setting, so I just use that as my default. And then strain it through a nut milk bag and just bottle up, and it's delicious.
Yeah, 100% recommend.
Yep.
Especially too, like in the mornings, he makes me lattes. I'm a little bit slow to get out of bed in the mornings. I'm not naturally a morning person, so usually he's first one out of bed. And so he'll make these amazing lattes, and having that fresh almond milk, like he ruined Pete's Coffee for me. I used to be a huge fan of Pete's Coffee, and now when I go there, it's like, it tastes like chemicals to me.
Yeah, I think our palates are so used to whatever we get at the stores all the time that like once you get used to not those chemicals, like you remove them, right? And then you just eat fresh foods that you make yourself all the time. And then you try those new store-bought stuff, and it's just not the same anymore.
Yeah.
Your palate changes, your sense of flavor changes, and all of a sudden you can just taste all that weird artificialness of that stuff that you might be getting.
It hits different. That's one thing about eating healthy is the more you eat healthy, the more you crave it. So things that you thought that you could never give up before, once you start to taste good, real food, then you don't even want it.
No, I agree. I need to go change something on there really quick. Do you want to try lattes with coconut milk tomorrow?
Ooh, that'd be different. I'd be totally down for that.
Yeah?
Yeah, I feel like that would be an interesting flavor combo. He normally puts caramel in mine, so it'd be like a toasted coconut caramel. We should start naming our drinks.
What do you mean?
Like, you know how when you go to the store and they have like the mochaccino dinosaur Rex, whatever. Like, I don't know. But they always give it some kind of like funky, the razzmatazz, like funky name to it. We could start naming our different coffee flavors.
Yeah, the coffee place we go to, I get the hangover latte, right?
Yeah.
It was like named hangover latte. It was
Yeah.
delicious. It was pretty good. So yeah, why don't we like, I mean, the reason why it was called the hangover latte is because they used what they called as hangover bitters. But like all we're doing is using almonds or coconut. So what are we supposed to call it? The coconut latte or the almond latte?
Yeah, but we can give it a fun name. And then as we build up our repertoire of like flavors that we make, then we can start getting fancy with it.
Too bad the oat milk didn't work out.
I know oat milk was slimy. That was kind of gross.
Yeah.
It did not go well. I mean, either way, almonds are so much better for you than oats because oats have pesticides. They don't really have that much nutrition to them. They have a little bit of fiber, which you're not really going to get once it's creamed, essentially. And then there's no protein in it. Whereas almonds, you get some protein, you get some fat. So more nutrition to it, vitamin E.
Are coconuts good for you?
Yeah. They have some great fatty acids in them. MCT oils come from coconut.
Gotcha.
So it's really good about keeping you full for longer. And then what else? Coconut can be antimicrobial. So it helps kill bad bacteria that grows in your gut. And then what else? High fat, keep you full longer. Yeah.
Okay.
Sure, a bunch of other things.
Yeah, I mean,
it's just a flavor. It's an acquired flavor. So it depends on like if you want coconut or not. Because I feel like coconut, like you have to be committed to it. Be like, I'm in the mood for this.
I'm curious what a latte would look like or what it would taste like with fresh coconut milk
Sure.
instead of the almond milk we make. You all for tomorrow?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. We'll make one almond and one coconut. If the coconut doesn't, it's not very good. It's all you.
Sounds good.
All right. Anyways, tangent we went on. What do we want to talk about today? The tip of the day is do your cardio, essentially, right?
Sure.
And the reason why it was a tip, and it was much more of a tip for both of us, me more so than you, I think, is because we did a spin class yesterday.
Yes.
And it was a train wreck for me.
It was a bit bizarre. I'm not going to lie. Well, first of all, we don't generally do that much cardio. I'll warm up with some cardio. Sometimes I'll do some finishers with some sprints or such. But we don't really do long cardio. We don't go for runs. We don't go swimming for an hour. It's just, I don't know. I feel like for me, I enjoy strength training more, and you still get some benefits of cardio if you're lifting heavy enough. So I'm always like, I'm good on the cardio.
There's definitely a lot of benefits to cardio. It's just that I really hate cardio.
Yeah.
Like I imagine a lot of people really hate lifting weights and they just don't get it and they just like they go into the gym, they know it's good for them, and yet they just are, I don't know, in pain the entire time while they're lifting weights. That's how I feel when I do cardio.
Yeah.
I start cardio, I know it's supposed to be good for me. I know like there's a lot of health benefits to it or whatever, and then I just hate it. It's just pain the entire way.
Well, it didn't help too that the class that we went to was very dancey, which I've done Soul Cycle before, and I've done Peloton and other classes like that. And normally it's like playing with the resistance of the bikes. You're cranking up the resistance, so you're going harder. So it's like you're going up a hill, or you're into the saddle, you're out of the saddle, you're doing sprints, you're slowing down. So there's difference in the way that you're actually riding, whereas this was very like, all right, to the left, and up, and tricep press, and tricep press. And it was like, whoa, what is this?
I wasn't really expecting that at all.
No.
She did say at the beginning that it was like a very clubby atmosphere or a clubby vibe, and I'm just like, I don't know what that means. What does that mean? And then it's like, yeah, we're basically dancing on a bike to the beat, and I'm just like,
yeah,
it wasn't me.
It wasn't my vibe.
It was not me.
Yeah. I like having the music up. I like having the lights going crazy. I mean, that's the whole reason why people like Soul Cycle to begin with. To be honest, I don't think anyone actually enjoys spin just by itself. It's the atmosphere and the whole like vibe of it. I think that people like enjoy, but
I don't know. Like, that's not probably a good thing to say, but I just felt like my man card was like being taken away from me while I was there.
There were a lot of ladies there. A lot of
It's
ladies.
not the ladies part of it, because like you can go take group classes, you can do yoga and like all that kinds of stuff, and like your man card won't be taken away from you, even though that's probably debatable for some guys to do yoga. But like spin, I don't know, I couldn't. My masculinity is too fragile for spin class. Sorry.
Every time I look over at him, he was just like dialed in. He's just kind of staring down at the bike and just focusing in. I'm like, all right.
I couldn't get into the group atmosphere, like the group vibe, where everyone was doing like the whole down to the right and down to the left, and then like back and down and cross and down and cross again and all that. I can't. It's hard to do group classes like that, where it's like everybody is in tune with each other, and you're supposed to be in tune with each other, and it's like a group exercise where like everybody is like moving together in like it's like a dance essentially. I can't do that.
Right.
Like yoga's okay because like yoga you go in there, it's your individual practice even if it's in a group environment, right?
Sure.
You're not expected to like move together with everybody else there. But like in spin you are.
Yeah.
I just I don't know, it wasn't good.
It was just different. I wasn't expecting that when we came into it. I think for me too, like I struggle with longer cardio classes. So for example, you have steady state cardio, which is a longer interval, and then you have like higher intensity cardio, which is for shorter bursts of energy, but you're going a lot. Like you're going all out essentially. And I tend to go towards the all out. For me, that feels more comfortable. I feel like I have, was it fast twitch 2 fibers, where it's like the more explosive, quick bursts of energy. That's more what feels good in my body. Whereas like the steady state cardio where you're just going forever and ever and ever. I'm like, I'm dying slowly right now.
Both suck.
I was always a sprinter because I used to be a swimmer. Sprint was always my thing. I never did distance until college. And then when my coach forced me to do 1,000-meter events, that was not fun. For swim, that was not fun.
Jesus.
I hated that.
Yeah.
We had to work up to it, and I shaved off a lot of time after I got used to it. But in the beginning, it was very slow.
No, I never did cardio. Like it just wasn't for me. I think I'd be good at running if I ever got really into it because I have a runner's body, but I just can't do it. It's just painful. I have long legs comparatively to the rest of my body. I don't know how to describe it.
Yeah.
Like my height to leg ratio is bigger than most other people I would expect.
Right.
And so I have long legs, and so like I think that's supposed to be good for running, but I just can't get into running.
You and me both. Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I really enjoy swimming. I think if I'm going to do longer cardio or if I'm going to do cardio in general, swim is what I gravitate towards because I like the variety of it. You have different strokes that you can do. You have different ways that you can go about it. You can warm up with a kickboard. You can use the pool buoy. It's just, there's more variety to it.
Yeah.
And it feels good. It feels good to be in the water. You're using your core a lot. I love the breath control of it. And I think for me, it's a lot more meditative because I'm counting strokes and I'm just very in the zone. Whereas something like running for me, I get so distracted. Or if I'm listening to music, I'm trying to like match myself to the beat, or I match myself to the beat, not realizing that my pace is off. And it's just, the joints, the fact that you're just pounding joints.
Yeah, I will say that like swimming and biking is probably better for your joints than running is. But also what you were saying about swimming and how like you like the breath control work of it all, and I'm just like, no, I don't like that part of it. I don't know what kind of cardio I enjoy the most. Even I don't enjoy any of them, first of all, but like I don't know what cardio I would enjoy the most. Like swimming was fine. I liked swimming because it was like a full body activity where you had to be focused the entire time. You couldn't just relax. You couldn't get into like a zone per se. You had to be like just focused on every single part of your body because it's just like it's both your arms and both your legs all moving together, and you're engaging your core and having to control your breath. Yeah. If you zone out for some reason, like one of your body's parts is gonna go weird, and like you might do something stupid or something. But like I don't know, it's too painful for me. And then running, I actually didn't mind too much because like once you get into like a groove, it's like you don't have to think about running anymore.
Yeah.
Your body just moves. You know what I mean? Your body is made to walk and to run and do like all these normal mechanics of it all, right? And so like once you get good at running, your legs just move on their own. You don't have to think about it per se.
Right.
The only thing you have to think about running is like in case like the sidewalk or wherever you're running has like uneven or rocky terrain or something.
Sure.
But then with biking also, I don't know, biking is also boring.
We used to do stairs. We used to do the Harvard stairs together, which are really uneven, and so sometimes you're stepping higher than others, and like it gets quite intense. I enjoyed that. That was a good way, I think, for us to get some cardio in.
Yeah, that was like intense hiking almost. Like there were Harvard stairs, and so there was like a stadium of stairs, but they were very old-fashioned ones, and so you don't get like bleacher type stairs. What you do is you just get literally stone steps that are like, I don't know, 1.5 feet by 1.5 feet or something like that.
I'd say so.
Yeah, so it's like they're literally just steps, and it's about 1.5 feet up and 1.5 feet in, and then 1.5 feet up and then 1.5 feet in, 1.5 feet up, 1.5 feet in, and like I don't know how many rows there were, 30
I don't
something.
remember. Yeah.
I don't remember either. And like you get to the top, and it's just like, oh, it's a crazy workout.
Yeah. It's almost like doing step ups.
Yeah.
Because you're not doing, like he said, you're not doing like normal size steps. You're stepping significantly high, especially for me. It's someone shorter like me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember one of my favorite cardio classes that I've done, because we've done berries together, which I enjoy, kind of going back to that HIIT style.
Yep.
But I used to take a class in LA called Rise Nation, which are like the Versa climbers, and that was fun. So it's this weird device, I guess you could say, piece of equipment, where it's at an angle and you're going opposite arm as leg, and you're kind of like scooting on it, so to speak. But oh man, it's a 30-minute class, and by the end of it, you were just torched. Absolutely torched. Just because it uses every single muscle, because you're pushing up, you're pulling down, you're engaging as you're like pulling your knee in, and you're pushing down. So it works like literally your whole body. And similar to Soul Cycle, they would just pump up the music and turn on the lights, and I enjoyed that. That was a fun one.
Sounds weird.
Yeah, it's different. It's really different. Even just getting used to the equipment itself takes a little bit. But as far as efficiency of what you're burning in calories doing cardio, it's like prime.
That's like very new age kind of thing though. Cause like running, biking, swimming, those are very like, typical, expected, normal things. But like doing Versa climbing, you're like kind of like.
Well, it's supposed to mimic climbing, right?
Right. But you're not, when you're climbing, you're not doing like cardio.
No, but if you had the ability to go at a fast pace, it would be.
Yes, I guess. And there is speed climbing in the Olympics now, which is an abomination.
Like little spider monkeys.
Yeah, tangent. I used to rock climb all the time, and I did it for years and years, and I was doing it 2 or 3 times a week, and I got okay at it before I like started injuring all my fingers. Rock climbing became an Olympic sport recently, in the last couple of years, and there's a lot of controversy about it because you don't just take and give a gold medal to the best bouldering climber or the best lead climber or sport or whatever you call it, climbing. You take the average score of their bouldering project score. Like bouldering is when like you'd have short walls and really, really hard problems to figure out. And so like every single move of your arm or your leg to the next step is really difficult and requires a lot of balance and strength. That's bouldering. And the walls are very short, so you're only going off maybe 10 feet off the ground or something like that. 10, 20 feet off the ground. Sport climbing is the more typical one where you see like someone's a harness and then they climb up the wall and they're doing the clip-ins and all that kinds of stuff. And it's a little more endurance based. And it's not endurance based of your heart, it's endurance based of your hand strength. Because like each move is not that difficult as bouldering is, but it's much, much taller, like 100-foot walls or 200-foot walls. And then finally, there's speed climbing, which everyone hated, which was never a thing in the climbing world until the Olympics made it a thing. Speed climbing is when you get it tied to like an auto belay system, and then there's like a predetermined course that you practice over and over and over again to see how fast you can climb it to get to the top. Speed climbers get to the top in like 7 seconds, like a 100-foot wall. And so like they're very fast about it. But it was never a thing. And the whole point of my tangent was that speed climbing is an abomination. It should be removed from the Olympics, and it should just be bouldering and sport climbing. And then tying back to what you were talking about with your versus climber.
I would say, just to like insert myself into that conversation, whenever any of my clients talked about the Olympics, they talked about the speed climbing and how cool it was. They didn't mention the bouldering. They didn't mention anything else. It was the speed climbing specifically. They're like, that is so cool.
That's because speed climbing is more...
It's flashy.
It's flashy and more accessible and more understandable from like a layman's perspective.
Because if you're not a climber, you're not going to stare at someone just going slow motion up a wall.
Yeah, because like I agree in that sense. Like if you're not a climber and you see somebody doing a bouldering project and you're thinking to yourself like, bro, you're only climbing like 10 feet. Why is it so hard?
Pretty much. Yeah.
Oh man, it's a problem.
I'm just bitter that dance still isn't a sport in the Olympics. That to me is wild. The fact that you have ribbon dancing and trampoline and figure skating and all these other things in dance, I feel like it's something that could be really, like, it's easy enough to come up with point systems. I mean, they have national competitions anyways. So that's one that I don't understand why it's not a sport yet, officially.
Because I think dancing is just way too, it is subjective, I guess.
Yeah, but so is skating.
Yeah, but skating, there's like a degree of difficulty to all the moves that you can quantify.
Same thing with dance, though.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Like what?
So certain turns, so the amount of turns that you can do,
Yeah.
certain jumps that you can do, the combination of the turns and the jumps. So, like I said, there are national competitions where they have point systems for the different elements. And then they also, too, have certain things like synchronization, how in sync they were, or similar to synchronized swimming, which is an Olympic sport, right? Like they have point systems for just different tricks that they're able to do. So same thing in dance.
Yeah, but synchronized swimming is typically more than two people doing like in sync dances. And you can very clearly see when they're like not in sync with each other.
Yeah, but you have team dancing, right?
Isn't that just cheerleading?
Oh my God. Which is, I actually think, is that an Olympic sport? I want to say it was on the options for it. I do know break dancing is actually going to, I want to say it's going to be in this Olympics in Paris. Because it wasn't in the last one, but I think it is in this one. So breakdancing I know is a new one. Karate wasn't a sport in the Olympics before, and that one is now an Olympic sport.
I should just make MMA an Olympic sport.
Honestly.
They have wrestling, I guess, as an Olympic sport, so that's enough. Never mind.
So is boxing too.
Yeah,
and taekwondo.
that's true.
Yeah.
Boxing and taekwondo. Taekwondo definitely is a very flashy sport. Not very practical. Boxing is very much a gentleman's fighting, and then MMA is like, and wrestling's real.
Sure.
So I don't know.
Sorry, we got way off track. Cardio.
We're talking about cardio.
Super important for heart health. It's something that's good that we need to be doing more of, so we kind of need to find our jam again with that. We used to go swimming once a week. I think for us personally, we need to have one day we're doing longer cardio, which is dedicated to cardio, whatever that looks like for us. And then I think for me too, amping up the sprints that I do at the end of workouts, just because for me that's a really good way of just letting myself end on a really high note of just laying it all out on the floor essentially.
I think we should get back into swimming.
Yeah.
Because even if it's not, like, I don't think we'll ever find a cardio that I'm going to actually enjoy.
True.
We won't.
I wish we could do kickboxing. I loved doing kickboxing. When I did that, I was in like the best shape.
I don't want to do kickboxing.
Or boxing.
Like doing like class drills, like kickboxing or boxing, like it's not my thing. Swimming.
Yeah.
Because I think swimming will be good for cardio, but it'll also be really good for posture and just overall health.
Sure.
Because like it really like get to an extension and like stay there for the longest time.
Yeah.
It works your core, it works your cardio, it works your elongates like your spine and puts it into the right position for long periods of time. So that's good.
Yeah. I will say to all the cardio bunnies out there who only do cardio, that's not good either. You need to do strength training.
I was going to say all the runners out here.
Oh, God, they drive me nuts.
Yeah.
Heart health is important. But the other issue, too, with longer state cardio, I've had clients in the past who have done hour-long cardio. They try to go further, longer, whatever, for weight loss purposes. And they'll start to lose weight in the beginning, and then after a while they're like, why am I not losing weight? And then they can kind of start to gain weight sometimes, just because the amount of fuel and carbs that they need to take in order to fuel their workouts just kind of backfires on them, because your body becomes more efficient at conserving energy.
Yep.
The more conditioned you are with doing longer state cardio, the more conditioned you're going to be, the more your body's going to be able to conserve. So you're not burning as many calories as you did when you first started out. So that's why for weight loss purposes, doing long cardio isn't probably the best option. It can help, but more than anything, it's just good for breathing, heart, all that. If you want to lose weight with cardio, then you need to stick to more of a higher intensity, short intervals where you're going all out, or, you know, medium to high intensity, because that's what they call it, your EPOC. It's energy expenditure over, basically it's the amount of calories that you're still burning post-workout in a 24-hour period. So when you do those short intervals where you're going all out, but you have a break to recover, and then you go all out and then you have a break, it causes your body to have to really, really exert a lot of energy over that 24-hour period. So in the long run, even though you're working out for a shorter time period, you're burning way more calories than you would had you been working out for like an hour straight, essentially.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say cardio is probably the best form of exercise for weight loss. There's a lot of other benefits to cardio. And so just specifically an improved cardiovascular system and circulation.
Yeah.
That's probably the best thing.
Yeah.
It also strengthens your heart and keeps it much more steady and regular as well.
It's good for detoxing too, so lymphatic drainage and that kind of a thing. If you feel like you had a really terrible weekend where you're just binge drinking or eating or whatever, it also helps too with just getting that stuff out.
Yeah. There is a limit too, I think, to doing too much cardio. And I think some people probably break that limit quite often.
Yeah.
People you work on anyways. And try not to do too much cardio, but I don't really know how to like define the line, what is too much. I know that like running the marathon's not good for you. It is a really good goal to do and to achieve if you want to do it. But running marathons is not healthy for your body. It just breaks it down a little way too much.
Yeah. If you have a goal like that, you have to do so much work outside of just your running training to support your body. You have to be doing strength training to support your joints. You have to be focusing on recovery. Recovery is the big one. You have to be foam rolling. You need to be doing mobility work. You need to be eating enough so that you can actually repair the muscles that you're damaging. You need to be getting really good sleep. You need to be hydrating. So there's so much that goes into it. And I feel like a lot of people just focus on just the running portion of it. And because of that, they're hurting themselves, essentially.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a runner. So take everything I say with a grain of salt.
Sure, same.
I'm not going to try to dissuade people from running. If they want to run, run. Just don't run 3 hours a day, all day, every day.
Yeah.
Just don't. Too much.
It's true.
All right. Any other last words on cardio?
No.
If you're a guy and you want to try spin, try it. Just as an experience.
Or just take a different style class. Go to Soul Cycle, they're tried and true. Same thing with like Equinox has good classes generally.
Yeah, we took a lifetime spin class. That's what we did.
Yeah.
And so like your mileage may vary from wherever you're from, but the classes that you take and like the instructor that you have. So it's very different.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, guys, buyer beware. Not my jam. I did it once way back, like years and years ago, and I didn't enjoy it then, and I did not enjoy it yesterday, so.
It's good to get out of your comfort zone, though. Yay.
I mean, I lost my man card for like an hour and then got it back somehow, but it's okay.
Great, you looked manly to me on that bike.
I mean, okay, so it was like 80-20. So like not 80-20. It was majority girls, but there were still like three, four other guys there.
Yeah,
It's a class of like 30 or something like that.
yeah.
It's like 10% guys. Maybe for all the single guys out there, go there to like find a girl, but like be a better fucking enjoy spin. I don't know what to tell you. You're better off probably like lifting weights. Anyways, enough about cardio. On to the relationship portion of things. We wanted to talk about and tell people how we met, right?
Sure.
Kind of like our shared history and where we are now.
Yeah.
How we got to where we are now.
So we first met technically on Hinge, which is a dating app. I was still in California at the time. This is 2020. This is kind of when the pandemic first started, essentially. It was maybe 6 months in. This was in August, I want to say.
It was peak pandemic.
Yeah, so August 2020. We didn't really know what it was still, didn't really know how it spread. People were still wiping down their groceries, that whole thing. So I knew that I was moving to Boston in September. And me still being in California was like, I wonder what the guys are like in Boston. So not really intending to date anyone just because it's the pandemic and where am I going to go on a date? How is this going to work type situation? But what are the guys like in Boston? So I downloaded the app and I'm just looking through some of the messages that people had sent me, and he had reached out to me. And I remember the moment so clearly, which is crazy to me just because, you know, I've been on a dating app for however long and seen how many people, but I remember the moment that I saw yours. I remember just staring at it and being like, this is weird. I haven't even moved yet. I'm in California. He's in Boston. I don't really want to tell him that I'm still in California.
And she did not.
No, I didn't.
No.
And so, but I was like, whatever, he's cute, so I'm going to message him back. And so I messaged him back. And very early on in the conversation, he asked me out, which I appreciate. I'm not someone to go back and forth over text. And so again, not wanting to tell him I was still in Boston, I was like, hey, I'm going to be busy for the next several weeks. Would you be willing to wait to go out? And he was like, yeah, I'll follow up. And so in my head, I'm thinking like, okay, yeah, all right. And sure enough, the week that I moved here, you followed up and we set up a date and we went on our first date the week after I moved to Boston. So you're my day one pretty much from moving out here.
Yeah, you were never single in Boston, in other words.
No.
You moved out here, we started dating, and then we dated for 3 years and got married.
Yeah.
So that's a trip for you. So you didn't know what a single life in Boston was like?
No, I'm okay with that. I paid my dues in LA.
It's a girls' market though, so I'm pretty sure you might have enjoyed it. Although you would have gotten a lot of dudes with like fish photos. So.
Oh, that was a game I had. So when I actually moved to Boston, it was very early stages of us dating, and so I didn't think anything was really going to go anywhere still. So I played this thing called the fish game where I would set a timer for 2 minutes, and I would swipe, and I would count how many profiles I could find of men holding fish, and my record was 9 in 2 minutes. So there's a lot of them.
There's a lot of them.
He was not holding a fish in his profile.
No. I've been fishing like twice.
Yeah.
And it was fine. I liked it. I'm not gonna like invest into the fishing life. That's all. Like get some rods and like go fishing and all that. Like yeah, it's not me. But yeah, I remember our first date. We met up. What's that place called? Cleveland Circle? No.
Chestnut Hill Reservoir. Which is at Cleveland? I think it is Cleveland Circle.
Cleveland Circle.
Yeah.
Right outside City Side or something like that.
Chestnut Hill.
Yeah. Like you can't say Chestnut Hill because when you say Chestnut Hill, everyone's gonna think like the Chestnut Hill Mall area or something like that. So you gotta say like either the Chestnut Hill Reservoir or like City Side Bar, or you gotta say Cleveland Circle or something like that. Then people know what you're talking about.
Got it.
There used to be a movie theater with that back there, like way back when, like 10 years ago. It was small. It was not great, but it's very nearby where I was living at the time. So I went with my parents. What was I gonna say? Yeah, we met up and we went on a date together. We walked around the reservoir. That is like a 2-mile walk or something like that.
Yeah,
The reservoir.
it's a long one.
And so like we were like walking for like almost an hour and a half, and then like we got talked a lot during the entire time.
Yeah, there are little benches that you can kind of sit
Yeah.
and look out at the pond with the ducks and all that. So we would walk a little bit and then we sit a little bit and chat and then walk a little bit and sit and then chat. And I wrote him off in my mind because
Yeah.
I had literally just moved from California to Boston, and because of that, we were talking about moving, and he's like, oh, I always wanted to move to Colorado, and I would love to live there, and I had a friend that moved out there, and I would love to go skiing every day, and because I'm from LA, I take the idea of someone talking about moving very seriously because LA is so transient, and so I assume Boston is the same, so mentally, I'm like, okay, I just got here, this guy's peacing out soon, so this is just for fun or for whatever, so I kind of wrote you off at that moment.
I just finished working at Tufts, and one of my buddies there that I used to snowboard with all the time, he was moving to Colorado, and he made it sound really amazing, and like the idea was like sounded really fun, and so I thought to myself like, maybe I should move too.
But he redeemed himself because at the end of the date, he asked me, he was like, hey, I really enjoyed this. I'd love to take you out to dinner. And started to plan out the next date at the end of our first date. And I loved that because most guys will kind of play the game of, I'm going to wait a long time and then I'll text you, or they wait for you to text first. I appreciated that there was none of that and that you were just straight up about your intentions.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm glad you liked me. I don't know. First date was fine. It was peak COVID, so everyone's walking around in masks. And I didn't want to walk around in a mask, and I had a mask on just out of politeness, and so like I asked you to take it off if you want to take it off. I asked you what your policy was.
Yeah.
And
I love the witty word. He's like, what is your mask policy?
Yeah. And she said like, no, I don't, we can take it off if we want to. I'm like, oh, fucking thank God.
Yeah.
I was tired of shit of
And
that.
then I was happy that he actually looked like what he said he looked like when he took it off, because masks are so interesting. The way that you just take them off and you have this idea in your head of what people look like, and then as soon as they remove them, you're like, that is not what I expected. So
Yeah.
He looked like you.
Good. Apparently I was tall too, so.
That was literally my first thought when I saw him, because I was walking towards him and I just saw him kind of leaning against something, and my first thought was like, oh, he's actually tall, because I'm so used to guys rounding up by 2 or 3 inches for dates, and so it was a pleasant surprise.
Mm-hmm. So I got that working for me, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess women can have their preferences, but guys can also have their preferences. And so like, I know girls want to date tall guys, right? But as a guy, I also wanted to date tall girls, essentially.
Which is how I almost didn't get to date him. And you almost ended up being single for the rest of your life.
I don't know. I don't remember anymore if the dating apps ever let you kind of like specify height. I don't know if they did. They used to, right? But not anymore, I don't think.
I don't think anymore they allow it unless you pay.
Yeah.
If you pay.
Like I don't think you can filter out their height by height. But it does say on the profile how tall you are.
Yeah.
And so it's like, even if they don't filter you out, you can just look at how tall they are in the profile and they can swipe left or right on that. That way it's like you yourself are actually kind of like filtering. You are the filter instead of them doing it automatically. And my filter was anything below 5'6". So if a girl put 5'5" on her profile, it was an automatic swipe left.
Shame. For shame. I am 5'5.5", like on the dot, 5'5.5". And I figure if guys can round up, then so can I. So I put 5'6". Lucky for you. Otherwise, you would have been very much single by right now.
You would have been kicked to the curb.
Goodness.
I love you. We can joke about it now because it's all history. Me and you are married, so ain't going anywhere.
It's true.
Wouldn't want to go anywhere anyways. But it's just funny.
And then our second date.
Oh my God. Let's skip over these stories for now. We can talk about them another time.
We should tell this one though.
Why?
It's funny. Okay, so second date. There's nowhere to go to eat. So Sweet Greens was where we ended up because it's the only place that's open and it's for takeout. Essentially, you order in and then you sit outside to eat. And so at the end of the date, he was trying to extend it, being like, I wish we could go to a bar or go do something. And there's really nothing that was open that we could
Peak
go
COVID.
do. Yeah. And so he was like, well, do you want to go back to my house and we can watch Game of Thrones? Because I had never seen it. And so I was like,
Tangent, we just watched all the seasons again recently.
yeah, because we did start to watch it together. I got so bored, I just checked out. But anyways, so going back to second date. So he invites me back, and I didn't want him to think that it was about to be sexy time or get the wrong idea. And also, the washing machine at my house had broken, so I couldn't do laundry without having to go to the laundromat. And so I was like, hey, if we're doing this, is it okay if I bring over my laundry since my laundry machine is broken? And his face was just like, huh?
I mean, it broke my brain for a second. It was just completely out of left field, and I didn't know how to react to it.
I don't blame you.
And I thought to myself, like, okay, well, my first instinct was, she just wants to use me for laundry. And I'm like, that's weird. I don't appreciate that. My second instinct was, well, I kind of want to watch Game of Thrones anyway, so I'll appreciate the company while she uses me for laundry. And then my third instinct was like, people don't do that, where they're just like, ask about laundry just to use somebody's laundry. I feel like normal people would only do that under like, I don't know, like extensive circumstances, like under strain of some sort. Like she said her laundry was broken, so I'm just like, her laundry probably is broken, because who the fuck would ever ask that?
I remember after the fact telling my girlfriends when I had finally told them about you, and they were like, Bethany, you are so shameless. I cannot believe you did that. I'm like, I needed to do my laundry. Two birds with one stone.
Yeah, she ended up coming over and doing laundry.
Yeah.
We watched some Game of Thrones,
Yeah.
and the rest is history.
It's true.
But yeah, interesting times.
It's always interesting for me looking back because I did not see us getting married. You know, if you hear the stories about love at first sight and that kind of a thing. And I was enjoying it and I really liked you and I was curious as to where things would go. And I was just kind of keeping the mentality of like, I'm just going to stay open and enjoy this. And it's really cool to see how far we've come.
I would agree to that. I don't think it was like one of those things where it's love at first sight, but like the more we dated, the more we grew up, like we grew closer together, it just became easier and easier.
Yeah.
There was no like situation where I thought to myself like there was any sort of barrier that was put up between us because of either values or habits or anything like that.
Yeah.
And so at no point while we were dating, I thought to myself like anything was a bad thing.
Yeah.
Even those situations where you thought things were falling apart, I'm just like, everything's fine. We have a small disagreement. It's okay.
Well, to be fair, though, we've come from different backgrounds as far as relationships goes. I'm very conflict averse for sure, just going back to childhood and all that. But also, too, I never really had any long-term relationship experience. And so because of that, it was always kind of used to things kind of ending quickly and suddenly. And so I think that was something that was always kind of in the back of my mind. And then also too, the stakes of me having moved across the country and essentially jumped into a relationship, for me, that felt like high stakes because it felt like to me, other people were kind of looking and be like, oh, you just found a security blanket out there. And for me, I knew that that wasn't the case. And so it was something that I valued and really wanted to fight for on top of everything else too. There were just all the layers. So yeah.
I can also be a security blanket.
Yeah.
Which is not a bad thing.
It's true.
No, the first fight that I remember that you were the first kind of disagreement or discussion that we had where our expectations of our perceptions of our disagreement were just completely wildly different was when we moved in together and we were arranging furniture together.
Yeah.
Like before that, I feel like we were pretty much on the same page and kind of never overreacting or underreacting to something, right?
Yeah.
But then we moved in together and we were trying to figure out how we're going to arrange furniture in our living room, just to figure out what was the best way and how we're both comfortable doing that. And to me, it was like a 3 in the Richter scale. And to you, it was like, I don't know.
7 or 8.
Yeah.
I was like, if we don't figure this out, we're breaking up. Like I wasn't gonna like initiate like, hey, this isn't gonna work. Like we need to break up because this sofa is not to my liking. But it felt like if we can't figure out something this simple, then we're gonna have trouble. Like if we can't communicate through this, our relationship's just gonna fall flat.
Yeah. So that was the first time where like we were completely different pages.
Yeah.
So we had to figure that one out.
Yeah.
And so, how do we even figure it out? I think I just told you, like, it's not that big of a deal.
I think that fight specifically, I shouldn't use the word fight, but disagreement, I guess,
Yeah.
conflict. We waited, like we slept on it. We literally slept on it. And I think it took maybe 1 or 2 days of us stepping back away from the issue itself before we are able to talk about it, where you were a little bit more open-minded about how we could do the layout of it. And then for me, I think I came a little bit more towards what you were suggesting. And so we met in the middle essentially, where we both gave up a little, but
Yeah, I think we're able to both figure out what was important about it. to
yeah.
us. And then once we got to a place where we got more or less what we wanted in terms of what the important stuff was,
Yeah.
the layout kind of fell into place.
Yeah.
That, and I agree, we did take a step back where we talked about and said, like, hey, let's just put the furniture in somehow, say it's temporary, that it's not
Yeah.
final, that we will move it
Yeah.
once we just like, but like, let's take a step back and like not fight about it.
Yeah.
essentially.
I think those 1 or 2 days of us not talking about the issue at all and just kind of sitting with it and self-care and whatever else it is that we did during those days and just taking a step back, I think that was really what allowed us to be able to have that conversation with an open mind and be able to come to that agreement.
It
that
also
we
took
came
me a
to.
day to figure out like that you were freaking out about it.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, like I was yelling a little bit, being like, no, this is what I want. This is the reason why I want it, and yada, yada. But for me, it still wasn't that big of a deal because it's just like, it's furniture, whatever. But then it took me a second to figure out that like, it was a big deal for you. And I'm just like, oh, I gotta like make it a big deal for me also, just so we can figure it out and like treat this with the same amount of like seriousness
Sure.
and respect for the problem, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm
We'll
really
figure
proud
it
of the
out.
way that we've grown together. I think that's one of the things that I'm most like proud of in our relationship is the fact that we've definitely had to navigate certain things, but I think as a relationship ourselves, like we've definitely grown as a couple in the way that we communicate and just I think us as people too.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like everybody becomes a person when they grow up and they change, but it's actually not a bad idea, I think, to find another person and then you essentially grow up together. And you don't change in the way that you would as an individual. You would change in the way that you would as a couple together. And so like maybe I don't know how to describe it. Like the general wisdom of today is that you need to become a full-fledged person before you find another person that you can fall in love with and marry and have a life together, which I think is fine, but I don't think it's like the best way of doing it. I think the best way of doing it is that I don't think you should become a person, full-fledged person first. I think you should find somebody and then you become a full-fledged couple together. Like you're still people, individuals, but you're now individuals in a couple together, and I think it's gonna become easier to maintain that dynamic going forward rather than being two individual people and then trying to fit those individual people together in some way.
Yeah.
It's how do you describe it? It's like,
Well, the way that I like to think about it, I know you're still thinking of an example, but the way I like to think about it is like on a team, each player has their own roles, but they're on the same team. And I think that you learn as a team how to function together better, how to understand what each other is needing more, and how to accomplish goals together more efficiently. And I think that that's kind of the way that I look at it, is that I'm still working on myself as a player, but at the same time, we're learning how to navigate as a team, how we interact with each other and how we get better together.
yeah.
And I think too, looking back at when we first met, when we first started dating, I had an idea in mind of like, well, this is what I'd love to marry one day, or these are the qualities that I'd like to have in a future partner. And when you and I first met, I couldn't say that you had all those qualities. I feel like you actually grew into a lot of those qualities. And now when I look at those things that I was wanting and my partner, like you embody all of them and more. But it's something that I think because we as a team, yeah, came together and grew into it.
I still couldn't think of a good example I was thinking of. Honestly, the only thing I was thinking of is like if we think about it, we're all kind of terrible analogy, but let's roll with it for a second. Right? We all start as some soft little lumps of clay. And so like as we mature, as we get older, we shape that clay into what we want to become or what we think we are and all that kinds of stuff. And then as we get older and older, that clay eventually hardens and you can't continue to shape it. You know what I mean? And so like that's kind of like how you become a full-fledged individual and like you know who you are and all that kind of stuff, where you've now hardened your clay and that is who you are. But it's just like with hard clay and you try to find another person who is also made of hard clay, you really have to find somebody who's just like fucking perfect for you.
Yeah.
And that because you can't mold hard clay anymore. Versus like if you're still trying to grow as a person, you're still relatively soft, and you find somebody else who's still growing as a person who's also relatively soft, you can take those two lumps of clay and mold them around each other as you grow together. That way, like once you do become mature and hardened clay, you have now also molded around another person, so now you fit each other really well.
Yeah.
Versus like the other person who's hardened first now has to find somebody else who's also hard, but like has to fit. You know, like it's never going to be perfect, and it's going to be difficult to do all that kinds of stuff because it's like now you're hard as shit, and like it doesn't work. Terrible analogy. That's just like one way to think about it.
It works though. One of my favorite guilty pleasure TV shows is Indian matchmaking. I remember I would just be watching and Chinggis walks in and he's like, "What are you watching?" And I love the show. Anyways, matchmaker, she always promises her client, she's like, "I can get you 80% of what you're looking for. I can get you 80%. Don't look for more than that," essentially, because you guys need to grow together as a couple and you're never going to find the perfect person that checks every single box that you want to have in life. It's just, it doesn't exist. And so she always starts out by telling them that. And I can appreciate that advice because I think it's very true that you obviously have standards, right, for what you expect from your partner. But at the same time, perfection is never going to be there if you have this long laundry list of things that you expect from your partner. And then also, too, just expecting them to be that everything for you is unfair as well.
Exactly. It's just like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of another analogy, and now I'm thinking about puzzle pieces. And like that doesn't work either because puzzle pieces, it's like you have to find like the perfect piece for yourself and all that kind of stuff, and you connect to each other. That's great. But then the analogy doesn't work because it's like, what if all your puzzle pieces are really soft? And then you can just put the puzzle pieces who are not perfect, but then because they're soft and malleable, you just kind of stick them together and they like fit. I think people understand my point.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's better that way
Yeah.
to go around somebody.
Definitely. Well, it's cool too because I feel like it gives more adventure to it. Because now that it's like I look back and see where we've come from, it makes me excited for the future of okay, well, what's ahead for us and where are we gonna go? What are we gonna grow into? Who are we gonna become? Like I'm excited about that.
And then one disclaimer also is that everybody matures at different rates.
Yeah.
And so like someone might harden depending on their circumstances by the time they're 18 years old. Other people might harden depending on their circumstances when they're like 30 or something like that. So everybody changes, or 40, whatever. Everybody changes. Everybody grows differently.
And I think too, when you're a couple and you're working through something, just giving the other person a little bit of space and grace to work through it. So for me, for example, I dealt with a lot of high anxiety, especially when we first moved in together, especially when we were first dating. And for him, it's not something that's enjoyable to be around. Like, I can totally acknowledge that. It's not fun to be around someone who has high anxiety. And for him, he gives me the grace to work through it. And he supports me in the way that he can, but he's never expected me to just get better overnight. And I think with whatever things that we work through too as well, he's given me a lot of grace and like breathing room to be able to grow into it myself. And I think for you too, like for example, when we first moved in together and you were kind of struggling with that transition of going from like single bachelor life to, oh, now I have someone with me 24/7. Like it took you time and I was willing to give you that time.
Yeah, it was a change. Because I was just so used to doing whatever I wanted whenever.
Yeah.
And so it's like all of a sudden it's like, you can't do this. It's like, well, you're not bossing me. And so it was a mindset change.
Sure. Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying that was an example of one that I feel like I had to give you a little bit more breathing room and time to adapt instead of just being like, oh, well, you can't fix this right away, then I am done.
Yeah. And then we'll see how kids change the equation too.
Yeah, that'll get interesting.
That'll be fun.
Lack of sleep is what scares me.
Being hungry is what scares me. Feeding them is what scares me. That's all.
Yeah. We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. Any last words that you want to say about relationships?
No.
About our relationship?
I love it.
Yeah. Good. I love it too. When do you want to stream next? When?
Probably next Wednesday, because we're going snowboarding on Sunday, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because unless we do something Saturday, next Wednesday, I'd say is a safe bet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other last words?
Happy Valentine's Day, guys.
Oh yeah, happy Valentine's Day. Hopefully the guys out there did something good for your girls, and hopefully the girls were appreciative and did something for the guys out there as well.
Yeah.
If you're single out there, I know the bars are probably packed with singles, so go have fun. And then for all you married couples, I hope that it was a nice Valentine's Day. And who am I missing?
Yeah, I will say I was single my entire 20s. Like I said, Chinggis was my first real relationship or long-term relationship that I was in, so I can understand what it's like to be through a lot of Valentine's Day and seeing other people with other people and you be the only one sad and lonely at home. But I think do what you love. Like just take that time to just really enjoy life and enjoy just doing the things that fill you up. Yeah, spoil yourself.
I agree. For the single guys out there who might also find it difficult to deal with Valentine's Day alone, it's just like try not to get bitter about things. I know it's hard. Try not to. Like, your bitterness isn't affecting anybody around you. It's only affecting you. And so you're kind of like slowly poisoning yourself. And it's not a good way of living life.
No. It goes both ways, men and women for sure.
Yeah. Everybody will find somebody.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I found you. All right, signing off. I'm Chinggis.
Bye. I'm Bethany.
And this is Tips for Your Boyfriend.